revealed how 12 miraculous energies are supernaturally transforming our lives for divine healing. In the heart of the small rural town of Maplewood, a divine mystery began to unfold, a tapestry woven with faith and hope. When Sarah's youngest son, Jacob, was diagnosed with a terminal illness, despair hung heavily in the air. Yet, within the comforting embrace of their local chapel, a flickering flame of hope ignited. The scent of incense mingled with whispered prayers, transforming the chapel into a sanctuary where miracles were believed to dwell. As Sarah knelt before the altar, her heart filled with fervent plea. The church, their unyielding refuge, soon became a hive of unity, petitioning their beloved Saint Jude, the saint of impossible cases. Their voices swelled together, echoing in the hush of the sacred space. Just days later, miracles began to ripple through the congregation. First, there was Mrs. Anderson, who had battled cancer for years. One Sunday morning, as the community gathered for prayer, the very air seemed to shimmer. With tears streaming down her face, she announced that she felt completely healed, just as inexplicable warmth enveloped her. Others soon followed. A father who had lost hope of ever walking again danced on the church steps, and another who had suffered a heart attack felt his burdens lifted in a wave of divine energy. But doubt lingered, woven tightly into the fabric of their small town. Dr. Miller, the local physician, scoffed at the growing claims. "It's mere coincidence. You're grasping at straws," he declared, extinguishing the sparks of faith with his cold, hard logic. The clash between faith and science created a chasm in their cherished community, casting shadows of uncertainty over their joyful gatherings. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah ventured into midnight vigils, wrapped in the comforting glow of burning prayer candles, she found herself standing at the crossroads of faith. Her heart conflicted. She wrestled with her own beliefs amidst the resounding testimonies from friends. The miraculous healings around her were staggering. But what of Jacob? Then a pivotal moment came. On a night when the energy felt electric in the chapel, the community gathered one more time. It was during this special prayer that, out of nowhere, Sarah felt an undeniable warmth enveloping her. Suddenly, a commotion surged through the congregation. As Sarah turned, she gasped. Jacob, long, frail, and pale, stood on his own 2 feet, a glowing light radiating from him. The atmosphere crackled with something divine, something beyond mere explanation, an undeniable miracle. But before the sudden eruption of joy could settle, shadows loomed. A whisper of doubt curled through the congregation as murmurs began to rise again. Could they trust this miracle? And what of the doctor's warnings? With their worlds turned upside down, Sarah and her family found themselves standing on the precipice of a powerful revelation. Would they dive into the unknown energies stirring within their lives, or allow skepticism to extinguish the bright flame of hope forever? The questions lingered in the air, echoing the profound journey yet to unfold. In the days that followed, the chapel overflowed with voices echoing a mixture of praise and uncertainty. The warmth of Jacob's revival burned brightly among the faithful, yet doubts continued to cast shadows. Sarah felt the weight of those whispers like a heavy cloak on her heart. The faith of many shone brightly, but the flicker of skepticism threatened to dim that light. Every corner of Maplewood buzzed with excitement and confusion. She heard the chatter at the market, the questions, and the fear woven into conversations. Is it real? Can a miracle truly happen? Or was it a trick of the light? These thoughts pricked at her mind. How could she ignore the wonder she had felt in the chapel that night? One afternoon, while preparing dinner, Sarah found herself lost in thought. The aromatic spices filled her kitchen, mixing with memories of joy and tears shared at the chapel. Jacob raced around the backyard, laughter spilling from his mouth like a sweet melody. It felt surreal, like a beautiful dream one she feared might shatter at any moment. Drawing strength from her love for Jacob, she made a decision. She would not turn away from what had been kindled in her heart. That evening, she gathered a few women from the church and invited them over for tea. These women had supported her through the darkness. They too shared in moments of inexplicable healing. As they sat together, their conversations rolled into the profound and the sacred. "Have you felt the power in our prayers?" Betty, one of the older ladies, asked. Her hands trembled slightly, but her eyes blazed with conviction. "I know I did," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "That night, something shifted. It was as if we were touched by an unseen energy, something deep and ancient." The women nodded, their collective memory drawing them into the moment. They shared stories of their own miracles, remarkable instances that had brought the divine into their daily lives. One spoke of a time that her grandson had escaped a terrible accident, and another recalled the day their church roof had been repaired just when the storms threatened to destroy it. These tales filled the small room with a light that softened their doubts, reminding them of how faith could bridge the gap between reality and the miraculous. As the tea cooled, Sarah's heart raced with hope and anxiety. If the healing was real, then perhaps the doubts could be silenced through action. They devised a plan to convene a special prayer meeting, inviting everyone who wished to share their stories and explore this miracle together. "Let us strengthen our faith with shared experiences," Sarah urged. "Let us not shy away from the light." The days that followed were a whirlwind, as excitement buzzed through the town. Flyers were posted, announcements made at church, and soon, the chapel was abuzz with anticipation, a gathering dedicated to considering their miracles and sharing their faith. But as the night approached, anxieties coiled around Sarah's heart once again. What if Dr. Miller returned with more questions? What if the atmosphere was punctured by skepticism? Her prayer was fervent, a plea that filled the very air with purpose, and then, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the chapel doors swung open wide, revealing a flood of attendees, believers and seekers alike, shining with anticipation. Unbeknownst to them, an energy charged the air, and with every step inside, the sacred promise of healing stirred once more. As Sarah gazed at the faces surrounding her, she felt it a deep connection, an awakening. Would tonight unveil more than they bargained for? Would they tap into something greater still? Answers were close. The divine mystery unfolded before them, setting the stage for an evening that might change everything once more. As the last rays of sunlight danced on the chapel's modest stained glass, Sarah felt a flutter of anticipation weave through her chest. The room was alive with voices, a symphony of hopes and dreams converging on this sacred space. Each face that entered resonated with a hunger for something more, something divine. "Look at them. They're here for a reason," she thought, half in awe, half in nervousness. The scent of candles burned softly in the background, their flickering flames visual testimonies of the light that warranted their gathering. When the final attendee arrived, a hush fell over the crowd like a gentle wave. Sarah could see her fellow church members expecting something profound, perhaps a revelation, a spark of hope that would banish the residue of doubt that lingered. "Welcome, everyone," she began, her voice quivering slightly. "Tonight, we gather not just to share our stories, but to kindle a fire of faith within one another. The miracles we've witnessed are not just for us, but for all who seek, for all who long for healing in their lives." A chorus of soft amens floated back to her, hearts weaving into a harmonious rhythm of devotion. As the evening unfolded, testimonies flowed freely from those with trembling voices. The sister of a young child overcoming a life-threatening illness spoke of miraculous interactions with doctors who were baffled by sudden improvements. Their whispers of unexplainable filled the air like confetti. Another man stood, sharing his tale of lost hope rediscovered. "I was consumed by darkness," he said, with wet eyes gleaming like stars. "But I heard about Jacob's healing, and it ignited a light in me. I felt the touch of something beyond myself, a divine embrace that hasn't left me since." With each word, Sarah felt a pulse of energy radiating throughout the room, each testimony electrifying the spirit. They were not just stories. They were affirmations of a living God at work. She glanced at Betty, whose eyes shone like prisms, reflecting divine joy. But the comfort of testimonies was woven with tension. Dr. Miller, always the pragmatist, loomed in her mind. What would he say about these stories? Would he seek to dissect them, find logical explanations? But perhaps tonight held more power than mere reasoning. As if reading Sarah's heart, Betty stood once more. "We're here because God is with us," she asserted, her voice carrying gentleness yet firm conviction. "We aren't merely recounting events. We're proclaiming truth. Each of our stories is like a note in a beautiful song of faith." A collective wave surged, rippling through the congregation. Sarah felt the barriers between fear and faith crumbling. The room hummed with a vibrational intimacy, drawing them deeper into connection. Then, a young girl named Emily, her voice barely a whisper, shared how she felt a miracle during prayer last week. She described the warmth that wrapped around her heart, a comfort that soothed long-held pain. "I prayed to feel God," she murmured, a shy smile breaking free. "And I did. It was like the light was everywhere." Laughter twinkled in the sacred air. But there also lingered an expectant silence, a heaviness that felt almost tangible. The atmosphere bore witness to their collective yearning. Was this not the essence of discipleship? To connect through shared struggles and revelations? But as empowering as this gathering was, in the backs of their minds echoed a gnawing uncertainty, a question that refused to dissolve. What if the answers we seek tonight are not the ones we expect? Before Sarah could ponder further, she heard a rustling at the back of the chapel. Whispers fluttered, hands gestured, and the door creaked open once more. A newcomer stepped inside, cloaked in shadows. Dr. Miller himself. Had he come to challenge them? To disrupt their sacred communion? The weight of the moment hung, drawing everyone's breath into a collective silence. What could this mean for their evening of revelation? Dr. Miller stepped into the dim glow of candlelight, his presence causing an electric stir among the congregation. People shifted slightly, eyes darting between him and Sarah. She felt an inexplicable urge to reach out to him, to bridge the divide between faith and reason. What would he say? How would he respond to this tide of emotion sweeping through the gathering? The doctor scanned the crowd, his expression unreadable. Then, with an unexpected softness in his voice, he said, "I didn't come to disrupt. I came to understand." His admission drew an audible gasp from the crowd, a mix of shock and hope wafting through the air like the scent of burning incense. "Tell me," he continued, looking directly at Sarah, "what do you mean by miracles? What does healing mean to you all?" His tone was earnest as he sought to penetrate the heart of their gathering. Sarah's heart raced not out of fear but a sense of purpose. "Healing is not just the absence of illness, Dr. Miller. It's the restoration of the soul, the rekindling of hope. It's the inexplicable warmth that envelopes us when we feel truly connected to something greater. It's the light that banishes shadows." The room felt electric, a kaleidoscope of emotions swirling around them. Several heads nodded in agreement, emboldened by her words. Dr. Miller looked thoughtful, absorbing the passionate energy radiating from Sarah and the others. The young girl Emily spoke again, her small voice ringing like a bell. "I asked God to help me feel loved, and I felt it, just like that." She clapped her hands, her innocence breaking through like rays of dawn. "That's a miracle. I senti it." Dr. Miller was silent for a moment. He shifted his weight, contemplating the fervor in Emily's eyes. "Perhaps it's a form of reassurance," he replied slowly. "A psychological phenomenon, perhaps." "No." Betty interrupted, her voice rising with conviction. "This is not just in our minds. This is real, tangible. When we share our stories, we breathe life into them. God is indeed at work." The tension morphed into something potent, illuminating the chapel with energy. Sarah felt it permeate through every heart present. It was a holy tug-of-war between belief and skepticism. But in this sacred ground, faith held its ground firmly. Dr. Miller looked at the faces drawn to him, the sparkling expectations swirling like stars around the room. "I came here tonight to challenge your assumptions, not to refute your experiences," he admitted softly. "But if you are united in this belief, then that belief has power to change everything. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd again, igniting a spark of wonder. Could this be the turning point? The mingling of faith and science, the dance between what is seen and what is unseen. Sarah felt a wave of compassion wash over her for Dr. Miller. His struggle mirrored what so many had experienced. Perhaps, she interjected, what we're feeling is God's invitation for every one of us to move beyond divisions. What if the miracles we each experience, big or small, are meant to bring us closer together? The conversation transitioned. Voices began to rise, stories cascading forth. Eyes became wide with enthusiasm as people spoke of discoveries, answered prayers, and the sheer beauty of divine connection. Yet, even in this exuberance, Sarah felt a gentle whisper of awareness within her. The night was unfolding beautifully, yet another layer was waiting to be revealed. Are we prepared for the surprising ways God might respond? She wondered, glancing at the flickering candles that seemed to grow brighter with each passing moment. The air hummed with expectancy, and Sarah's heart skipped a beat. They were standing on the edge of something profound. As the night continued, she couldn't shake the thought. What if this evening held an unexpected truth that would forever change their understanding of faith and healing? The energy in the chapel thickened, as if charged by the collective spirit. Each voice now wove a rich tapestry of faith that caught the breath of every listener. Sarah felt it swirl around her, surrounding Dr. Miller too. There was a unifying warmth, a cozy embrace that held promise and possibility. Listen, Sarah said, her voice rising above the chorus of shared testimonies. The room gradually quieted, her words drawing them together. We're not just talking about miraculous healings. Look around. We are being transformed by our connections with one another and with God. When we bear witness, we become channels of His love. Dr. Miller's brow furrowed, his mind furiously working through the flurry of sentiments. It's compelling, he said slowly, speaking more to himself than to the room. This idea of connection, could that truly be the essence of healing? Betty raised her hands in the air, her voice imbued with fervor. It is. It's the love we share. It's our faith burning together. That's the true miracle, the enlivening spirit that pulls us from despair into hope. Emily chimed in, her small frame vibrant with energy. Like the butterflies, they all work together to make pretty things happen. Her joy was infectious, stirring laughter and grateful smiles throughout the crowd. Exactly. Sarah beamed at Emily, the innocence of her enthusiasm providing a refreshing clarity. Each of us brings light to this gathering, just like the candles around us burning bright, illuminating the way for others. A beautiful metaphor, Dr. Miller mused, his defenses softening. But what about those who don't feel that love? Those who are still waiting for their prayer to be answered? A silence fell, heavy with contemplation. The flickering candlelight danced, casting shifting shadows on their faces, each an echo of longing and fear. Sarah's heart ached with the weight of those words. It was true. Not everyone walked the same path of faith. That's where we come in, interjected one of the elders, a gentle yet firm voice resonating throughout the space. Our stories of hope are meant to be shared. We stand as witnesses, guiding one another towards faith. Even in our darkest hours, we must illuminate the shadows together. Is that why we gather? Dr. Miller asked earnestly, his skepticism woven deep with intrigue. To support each other on this journey? Yes. A chorus of voices replied, reinforced by the spirit of unity fused among them. Laughter echoed, shifting the atmosphere toward a sacred joy. The discussions continued to bloom. A palpable sense of readiness began to rise. The weight of their shared burdens lightened, their faith igniting like stars emerging in the night sky. Tonight, Sarah said, nearly breathless with fervor, we embrace not just our individual miracles but our collective strength. God is in our midst, inviting us to look beyond our circumstances. We are being called to change, to heal together. A hush blanketed the chapel, hearts thumping in synchrony beneath the flickering candlelight. The congregation felt it a divine touch, heavy yet healing. Dr. Miller's gaze now held a flicker of resolve. Then, tell me, How do we truly embrace this journey? How do we identify what God has in store for us next? Sarah caught his eye, her spirit elated yet contemplative. We need to remain open to the unexpected, for therein lies the divine mystery. As if in response, the candles burned brighter, their flames flickering with excitement. Anticipation swelled. The air shimmered with unfulfilled potential. What revelations awaited them as they ventured deeper into this newfound connection? What miracles lay hidden just beyond their comprehension? Yearning for light, Sarah inhaled deeply, sensing the threshold they stood upon, ready to step forth. A moment of divine revelation was within reach. Could they embrace each sacred twist of the journey, no matter how surprising it might be? The silence hung with a trembling expectancy. Faces turned towards Sarah, their eyes reflecting a blend of hope and uncertainty. She breathed in the warmth of the moment, sensing the Holy Spirit guiding her words. "Let us take a step together," Sarah whispered, urgency threading through her voice. "Each of us holds a part of this divine tapestry. What would happen if we opened our hearts to share our stories tonight? What if the burdens we each carry could be met with the faith of those beside us?" Nods of encouragement rippled through the congregation. A sense of camaraderie began to build, and the warmth in the room deepened. It was not just a gathering. It was a family uniting under shared desires and dreams. With a gentle smile, Emily rose again, excitement shimmering in her eyes. "Can we start?" she asked with innocent enthusiasm. "I want to tell my story. I want everyone to know." "Absolutely," Sarah encouraged, her heart dancing at the childish eagerness. "Let us begin with you." Emily took a deep breath, the thrill of vulnerability apparent on her face. "I was scared and alone, waiting for something good to happen. But one day, I saw a butterfly." She paused, her small hands clutching her chest. "It reminded me that change is beautiful." I prayed, and slowly, I saw Goddess light guiding me. Now I feel so brave. A wave of understanding washed over the crowd. They, too, had faced their own darkness and craved the light. As her words resonated, others began to share. Each narrative sparked another, like flames catching new twigs. Betty stood next, her voice resolute. "When my husband was sick, I thought my heart would break. I felt so lost. But God sent us friends who prayed with us. Their love poured like rain on parched ground, kept me hopeful." Her eyes glistened. We weren't alone in that storm. Dr. Miller listened intently, each testimony challenging his previous doubts. As he absorbed this outpouring of faith, something deep within him began to stir. Stories of love intertwined like threads in a quilt, each moment a healing balm for weary souls. Point one by one. Voices rose around him, sharing memories of despair turning into divine moments. Their fears were laid bare, but so were their victories. It was a chorus of compassion, each note steeped in raw sincerity. The Spirit wrapped around them like an embrace, encouraging them to delve deeper. Then, a hushed voice broke through the noise. It was Nora, a quiet woman often overlooked. "Years ago, I lost everything," she started, vulnerability evident. "But in my darkest days, I found a community that would not let me go. Each prayer lifted me. Each kindness healed a piece of my spirit." The air thickened with emotion, and even Dr. Miller felt the weight of Nora's words. How many times had he, in his quest for logic, neglected the very essence of human connection? "Do you see?" Sarah said, her voice illuminating the chapel. "Healing is not always grand gestures. It's in the small moments of grace we share together." As if responding, the candles flickered in unison, growing brighter with every shared testimony. A gentle breeze swept through the open windows, carrying whispers of hope and renewal. Dr. Miller's heart raced with new understanding. Could the unexplainable be the very essence of faith? What if these simple stories held the keys to unlocking true healing? In that charged atmosphere, a powerful invitation hung in the air. Would they allow this moment to transform not just their hearts but their lives? As silence settled over the chapel once more, all eyes turned toward Dr. Miller. His expression was a mix of awe and curiosity. What if, he began slowly, what if we tried to capture this feeling and take it outside these walls? How could we share it with those who need it most? With his question hanging like a promise, the seeds of possibilities began to bloom. What would they uncover next on this sacred journey? What healing awaited them beyond the chapel doors? The weight of Dr. Miller's question lingered in the air, vibrating with expectation. The faces around him transformed. Hope glimmered in their eyes. It was as if something awakened deep within, an urge to become more than just listeners, but bearers of grace itself. In that charged moment, Sarah encouraged them once more. What if we could take this light, this peace, and spread it? Imagine a world where our stories weave together strength and comfort. What if we reached out to the lost? A voice chimed in from the back. It was Jacob, a reserved member of the congregation who rarely spoke. His words felt like an arrow piercing through uncertainty. What if we made a place for those who think no one cares? Yes, yes. Emily cheered, clapping her hands, the sparkle in her eyes shining mesmerizingly. The room seemed to breathe in her excitement, and smiles erupted like blossoms in spring. Nora, feeling brave from the faith swirling around them, stood again. When I was in need, others showed up. I want to be that person for someone else. The ripple effect was undeniable. A subtle but powerful shift took hold. Hearts stirred, spirits lifted, and together, they envisioned a community that cared fiercely. The bonds that tied them together felt like unbreakable threads spun from love and mutual experience. I have an idea, Sarah said, leaning into the swell of inspiration. Let us create a shared day of service, a time when we can be the hands and feet of compassion. We could go into our neighborhoods, meet the lonely, pray for the broken. Let them see the light of what we felt tonight. Eyes sparkled and heads nodded. This was more than just talk. This felt like a calling. Dr. Miller, caught in the current of enthusiasm, felt an awakening deep within. He had lived in a world of logic, grappling with the challenges of faith with a clinical mind. Yet here, in this moment, he understood. This raw, pulsating emotion was the very essence of what it meant to uplift one another, to turn stories into action. I will volunteer, he said, his voice surprisingly firm. Count me in. Me too, burst out Betty, her heart pounding with joy. One after another, people began committing to this vision. Each pledge rang out like a vow of unity, a promise to amplify the divine whispers they had felt in the chapel. As plans unfolded, a rich energy filled the space. The air crackled with anticipation and purpose. Hands raised in enthusiasm exchanged ideas, and laughter broke forth amongst the earnest planning. They were not merely mapping out a service. They were gesturing towards a destiny of hope for many who felt unseen. Just as the room began to pulse with vibrant energy, a calm hush settled as Sarah lifted her hands gently. Before we move forward, let us be still. Let us invite the Spirit to guide us in this mission, to show us where to go and how to act. The congregation bowed their heads, the atmosphere thick with sacred expectation. In that silence, each person lifted their silent prayers. They sought the divine touch to absorb this initiative into their hearts. Suddenly, a soft glow filled the chapel, illuminating faces like the first rays of dawn. Dr. Miller caught a glimpse of it, an ethereal shimmer dancing across the rafters, making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Could it be a sign of affirmation? The moment thrummed with energy, but it ended as quickly as it began. One by one, they opened their eyes, wonder plastered across their faces. Each soul knew something profound had just transpired. What do you think that was? Jacob whispered, his voice tinged with awe. Before anyone could answer, Sarah's eyes sparkled with possibility. What if that was just the beginning? What if it's a promise of what's to come? The chapel buzzed with questions and excitement. Each person felt a stirring, a magnetic pull towards the unknown. What would the next steps reveal? How would their newfound resolve manifest in the world outside? As they exchanged glances filled with wonder, one question loomed, heavy with anticipation. What miracles awaited them now as they stepped forward on this divine mission? The air was thick with anticipation as the congregation gathered again, feeling the echoes of last week's radiant moments still fresh in their hearts. Dr. Miller stood among them, but now, the familiar weight of clinical skepticism felt lighter. Curiosity flickered instead of fire ignited by hope. "Have we thought about where we'll go first?" Sarah asked, her smile gleaming. "Should we walk our streets, find the broken-hearted in our community? Or does someone already have a place in mind?" "I know a local shelter," Jacob piped up again, emboldened by the warmth of encouragement surrounding him. "They often need people to talk to the residents, just to listen. It's such a simple act, but it could mean the world to someone feeling invisible." "Absolutely," Emily exclaimed, her enthusiasm pouring like sunlight. "Connection is healing. Imagine being the light for those in darkness. We can share not only our stories but also the stories of God's love." Nora nodded, her own heart racing. "What if we could share meals too? Break bread? Offer companionship? We could prepare food and eat together. So many people are alone." As ideas flew between members, a groove of laughter and joy filled the chapel. Each suggestion blossomed into something grander. Every thought echoed a sense of unity. Yet, amid the excitement, an undercurrent of solemnity surged. Each knew instinctively that this was more than simply doing good. It was a divine endeavor. Just then, Dr. Miller raised his hand, his expression thoughtful. "We should take time to pray again for direction," he urged. "God has stirred our hearts, but we must be wise in our approach. Let us seek his guidance before we leap forward." The room quieted, and a sacred hush enveloped them once more. They bowed their heads, their hearts open. "Dear Lord," Dr. Miller began, his voice steady and warm, "lead us to the paths we are to walk. Fill our hearts with compassion and steer our actions towards those in need." As they prayed, a palpable presence brushed against their souls, like a gentle breeze moving through the chapel. It was a quiet, reassuring touch, as if urging them onward, deepening their commitment. After the prayer, Sarah opened her eyes, her expression lit like a candle. "There's an old saying," she continued, her voice resonating with conviction. "If you want to see change, be the change. Let us be hope-bearers." "Yes," cheered the congregation, voices intertwined in fervent unity. The energy in the room surged again. But in that moment of communion, as they exchanged joyful glances, Sarah whispered, "What if this is just the beginning? What if through our service we discover new gifts within us? What if we uncover great needs we hadn't even noticed before?" The murmurs of excitement swelled, imaginations soared. They could feel the divine possibility blooming before them. Their hearts danced with visions of transformation, not just for those they would serve but for themselves as well. Dr. Miller's mind turned, contemplating the journey ahead, undulating with questions. Would his faith deepen? And just as the gathering reached a crescendo of enthusiasm, a stillness fell over them again. "Can you hear that?" Jacob whispered, eyes wide. Even amid the lively spirits, a faint sound whispered through their hearts, a hum of divine mystery, beckoning them onward. What could it be? What blessings awaited them in this new chapter of service? With each person brimming with curiosity and resolve, they stood at the threshold of a sacred adventure. What lay ahead as they prepared to step into God's purpose? The journey was just beginning. As their anticipation hung in the air, the congregation began to feel the weight of purpose settle upon them like a gentle mist. It was as if each heart was delicately woven into the fabric of something greater, a grand tapestry of divine love unspooling before them. "Let us create teams," Emily suggested, her voice bubbling with excitement. "We can divide into smaller groups to serve in different ways. The shelter, parks, or even visiting the elderly in nursing homes." The group nodded, a spontaneous pulse of agreement thrumming through them. Nora thought of the faces behind the walls of those older homes, eyes waiting for connection, hands longing for touch. What if we also bring them flowers? Small tokens of love? Something to remind them they are valued. Brilliant! Sarah clapped her hands, her face radiant. Each idea seemed to snowball, lifting their spirits higher and higher. They could feel God drawing them into a new rhythm, a palpable beat that beat within each heart. Just as they were about to dive deeper into planning, a stillness washed over them again. Uncertainty crept in, but beautifully, it was laced with hope. Dr. Miller sensed it too, and he raised his voice, filled with gentle authority. We should remember the importance of listening to listen not just to the voice of those we will help, but also to the whispers of God guiding us. With that, the group was derailed slightly, the moment stretching into silent contemplation. Underneath their eagerness, a knowing began to stir, a realization that much of what was about to unfold was beyond their understanding, a divine orchestration waiting to be revealed. Let us take a moment to reflect, Nora suggested gently. Closing their eyes, they entered a collective stillness, a sacred pause inviting them to seek clarity. Suddenly, Jacob felt an overwhelming warmth envelop him, pulling him into a vision, a small room filled with laughter, children playing. I can see the joy we'll create," he exclaimed, tears glistening. "We will bring hope not just to the lonely but to the children who roam the streets. What if we form a mentoring program too?" Emily proposed, the idea bubbling forth like a spring of living water. "Couple our service with genuine investment in their lives. We can guide them, encourage them. One step leads to another," murmured Dr. Miller, awe striking him. "What if in this journey we awaken something within ourselves we've long neglected?" The congregation buzzed with renewed energy. They were not just going to serve. They were becoming part of a greater movement of restoration. Each idea they shared seemed like a stepping stone, each suggestion pulling them closer to the fulfillment of God's purpose. Outside, the sun dipped low in the sky, the golden light spilling through the windows like a promise. It felt warm, inviting a glimmer of divine endorsement. There was something sacred about this pooling of intentions, the weaving of their hearts into a mission of love. As they stepped back into their discussions, laughter bubbled up, hearts were full, and spirits soared. Little did they know, the journey had just begun, and greater challenges than they anticipated would soon come forth. Suddenly, Emily's voice broke through the ambient joy. "What if we face struggles we don't expect? What if we're met with resistance or apathy?" Her question hung in the air, a tangible thread of uncertainty dancing with the promise of what lay ahead. Would their resolve waver in the face of trials? What if this journey led to deeper revelations? What indeed awaited them beyond the tender plans of their hearts? With faith woven into every eager heartbeat, they prepared to rise. But what would they find on this path they were carving together? The sacred adventure awaited. As dawn broke over Maplewood, the sun's golden rays flooded the chapel, casting a warm, divine light on the loving faces gathered within. That morning, a new chapter of healing and purpose began. Sarah stood before her community, her heart brimming with the fervor of their shared dreams. "Today is a day of action," she proclaimed, her voice steady and inspiring. "Today, we honor the transformations we experienced together in this sacred chapel. We will take this love into the world." The congregation responded with a chorus of amens, their spirits soaring like the morning birds outside. Each person radiated a unique light, a divine spark ignited by their commitment to bring healing to others. Jacob spoke first, his young voice carrying the weight of profound truth. "Let us begin at the shelter, where we can share laughter, meals, and stories. I want to show them that they are not alone." His innocence reminded everyone that even the smallest act of kindness held incredible power. As they prepared to leave the chapel, Sarah noticed Dr. Miller lingering, grappling with the pull of his newfound understanding. She stepped closer, her heart swelling with gratitude for the journey they were taking together. "You're coming with us, right?" she asked gently, as if inviting him to step deeper into the circle of love. "Yes," he nodded, eyes glinting with undisguised warmth. "I want to witness this miracle with you." And just like that, the walls of skepticism began to crumble under the weight of belief. The group filed out into the crisp air, anticipation weaving tightly around them. As they approached the local shelter, a wave of energy enveloped them, a tangible reminder of the divine purpose guiding their steps. The sight of those waiting inside, the hopeful, the weary, the lost, filled them with resolve. They were not merely on a mission. They were conduits of love, ready to embrace those in need. As the doors swung open, laughter and stories flowed freely, filling the room with a joy that resonated deep within. They served meals prepared with heartfelt intention, creating a sanctuary of warmth and fellowship. Hearts opened like flowers in the sun, and as they shared their own stories, their collective bond deepened. "Do you feel it?" Emily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Every time we connect, it's like a reminder of love." Waves of agreement rippled through the gathering, lifting spirits higher. Each smile exchanged and every shared meal brewed a sense of belonging. Dr. Miller watched in awe. The warmth radiating from this humble group enveloped him like a divine embrace. He had searched for logic and reason, but here he discovered healing that transcended understanding. The people before him were not just victims of circumstance. They were living testaments of faith, resilience, and hope. Meanwhile, Sarah and Jacob moved among the shelterless guests, sharing laughter and compassion with earnest hearts. "You're strong," Jacob told a young boy who had lost everything. "We all believe in you. You can get through this." His unfiltered belief sparkled like starlight, igniting a flicker of hope in the boy's eyes. It was a moment of divine touch, a startling reminder of the power found in pure connection. As the day turned to dusk, the shelter hummed with warmth and laughter. They shared songs and stories, the air thick with healing promises. Faces transformed from shadow to light, and in moments of vulnerability, tears mingled with laughter. It was more than an outreach. It was a revival of souls, a divine resonance echoing through each heart present. Yet, as they began to wrap up their time together, the energy shifted. A quiet voice emerged from the back, a frail yet determined woman. "What about tomorrow? What happens next?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Sarah stepped forward, bathed in the golden light spilling through the windows. "That's the beauty of this journey. We'll keep coming back. We will weave our compassion into long-term connections. Together, we'll create a cycle of hope." Applause erupted, and the room filled with grateful smiles, each face glowing with the promise of continued transformation. The murmurs ignited a fire within each heart, the desire to carry the light beyond the walls of the shelter and into their community. As they exchanged goodbyes and made plans for future visits, Sarah felt a warmth envelop her, a sacred presence she couldn't quite define. It was a guiding hand, whispering that this adventure was only the beginning. Later, as they walked back to the chapel, spirits high and hearts intertwined, Jacob turned to Sarah, a content smile stretching across his face. "We did it," he exclaimed, innocence and joy dancing in his eyes. "Yes, we did, my son. And we'll keep doing it together," she replied, tears of gratitude shimmering as the sun dipped below the horizon, sealing their day with a promise of divine connection. The journey had transformed them, but God's radiant invitation continued, shining brightly like the stars above, illuminating their path and promising more miracles ahead. And as they entered the chapel once more, ready to share their experiences and plan the next steps, a collective understanding filled the space. They were not only healers, they were vessels of the divine, shaping a world yet to be created. Now, one pressing call echoed through their hearts and the chapel. "Go forth and share this light with all." The community stepped forward, ready to seize the moment, knowing that together, they could unleash miracles beyond imagination. This is the moment. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you won't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will inspire your heart. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm, and let your love spread like wildfire. Comment below to share your reactions to this ending and your own testimonies of faith and healing. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this divine manifestation. True servants of God understand the importance of supporting each other through this journey. Let us rise together,